Welcome to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, in honor of Thanksgiving, I'm going to talk about the Thanksgiving story, the episode from season 2. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. If you're enjoying these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you'd like to know when I'm posting a new video. I have a special surprise for you during this segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. 2 of my castmates will be stopping by with a Thanksgiving message for you. So make sure you stay tuned for that. A lot of different storylines were happening in this particular episode. It was a 2-hour episode, so there was a lot of time to cover different things. John Boy is hoping to get into college and get a scholarship. His earlier love interest, Jenny, comes back to the mountain, and he's very excited about that. Jason has an opportunity to make some money working for the Baldwins, but he's making the recipe, which of course does not go over well with our mother. And then Ben wants to have his first opportunity to be a grown-up and get that turkey for the family. And he convinces Grandpa to let him be the one who does it. And Grandpa helps him build a turkey yelper, which I thought was kind of cool. I'd never seen one before growing up in the city. Not a lot of turkey hunting out here in LA. So I love that storyline. So a lot of different things happening for the different characters. Mary Ellen is going to try out for the school play, and she's hoping she'll get the role, but she's worried because Martha Rose is also up for it, and she thinks that, she might have a really good shot at it. So some specific things that I caught when I was watching the episode. Early on, Grandma's making relish and asking various different people to taste it to see if there's too much of this, not enough of that. I don't like relish. So at the point when I'm being given the relish to taste, I can guarantee I wasn't eating that relish. I was faking that, which was typically the case if you couldn't see that someone was eating. If it was something I didn't like, I avoided eating it. In that case, I couldn't avoid taking the bite, but I probably just pretended to take a bite. Also at that point, when Mary Ellen's talking about the play, she says she has no plan to get married, which was not an unusual thing for Mary Ellen in those early seasons. She was certain that she wasn't going to take a traditional path. She wasn't going to get married and just raise kids. She wanted to have a career. In this particular episode, she states that she wants to be a theater actress, which she states a few times, again, in early episodes, as in the episode The Actress, where she wants to become an actress. Of course, that didn't last very long, and she transitioned to an interest in various different other careers before finally settling on a career path as a nurse and then a doctor. This is one of the episodes where I noticed some other parts of the house. We actually see people coming out of that root cellar. I don't think you could go very far into there. It wasn't a working root cellar where you could go in and film in there. But Ben and Grandpa come out of there when they're going to go smoke hams. Also, I don't recall any other episode where we use a smokehouse. So those were 2 sets that we didn't have an opportunity to see very much, but we see in this episode. There were a number of really sweet comedy moments in this episode. The whole storyline of Jason working for the Baldwin sisters and him being afraid to tell our mother, and rightly so. But that then when the Baldwin sisters determined, because there is no heir to the recipe and their worldly goods, they get this brilliant idea that they are going to adopt Jason. And they think that this is a perfectly acceptable solution because he can still share time with the family, just that he'll live with them some of the time, and he'll be Jason Walton Baldwin. And I loved that John's response to them is,
"That's very nice, ladies, but we're not giving up any of our children this year."
And of course, Olivia is horrified that any of this is even coming up, and how did it happen? How did she not know about it? And everybody's been lying to her. But John does take it with a sense of humor, seeing how absurd the whole thing is. The storyline with John and Olivia progresses into one of their fights. They didn't fight a lot on the show, but I loved that it showed the realism that there's going to be times when, in the best of families, in the most loving of families, people aren't going to get along. And in this case, John and Olivia just see this from opposite sides, and she's not willing to give in, and he's trying really hard to get her to see the other point, but he understands her point as well. And they kind of fight it out, but ultimately, they also both, because they love each other so much, they find common ground and they find a way past it. So that was a really beautiful moment, and I think a really good example for all of us to just continue to talk and communicate and find a way past those differences, because that's what, I guess, as corny as it is, that's what love's about. It's also about acceptance. I had a lot of fun with my storyline of auditioning for Pocahontas and being all concerned because Martha Rose has the money to get this custom-made costume, and I'm all worried that she's going to get the role because her costume is so cool. And of course, I ultimately get the role. It's always interesting as an actor to be acting and then pretending to act, as in the case for both of us, both me and Cindy, to be auditioning, and in her case, to do a bad audition and act badly. Whereas for me, Mary Ellen was supposed to act better, so to pick a delivery that was an acceptable level of being a decent actress to get the role. So I enjoyed that. Another side note here is in this scene, this actress that played this other role was Kim Carath. Kim Carath played young Gretel in The Sound of Music. And I had worked with her very early in my career when I did a commercial, and she was the lead character in that commercial. Another guest star in this episode was Rance Howard, who played Dr. MacGyver. Rance Howard is the father of actor Ron Howard, who also did an episode of The Waltons. So we like to keep things in the family. John Boy and Jenny, that storyline was a continuation from the episode The Love Story. Many people felt that John Boy and Jenny should have ended up together. I can understand why. They were very sweet together. And in fact, Richard and Sean Barbara Allen, who played Jenny, actually were dating in real life, so they came by that chemistry naturally. I loved Sean Barbara as an actress. She had such a beautiful quality for Jenny, light and sweet and gentle, and she was so likable as a character. So I thought it worked really well for these segments. Sort of interesting side note that in this episode, because John Boy gets injured and ends up in the hospital and having to have surgery, he ends up in the hospital with his head wrapped up, which is a little deja vu to later years when all of a sudden they recast John Boy and we first see him in a hospital with his head wrapped in bandages. I don't know, but it does bring up the question of the actual potential hazards of that sawmill. In this case, John Boy gets injured because of the belt slipping off. And in speaking with Eric Scott about working in that sawmill, he said that original sawmill was a little dicey, and the way it was rigged together had its hazards. So I think we're very fortunate that no one actually ever did get injured. And of course, John Boy did recover. He was able to take his scholarship exam, and it was a monumental episode because this is when he got accepted to school, and it was a turning point for his character in the series. Ben going out to hunt the turkey. There's callbacks to the first episode of The Hunt when John Boy doesn't want to go shoot turkeys. And in this case, Ben wants to be the one to get the turkey. And then you can also call back to The Homecoming with Charlie Sneed, who delivers what he says was a turkey that he shot and yet was actually a stolen turkey. So there's a bit of an ongoing storyline about the acquisition of turkeys for holidays on the Waltons.
Hey everybody, it's Eric Scott here. And I'm so glad we're talking about the Thanksgiving story. It was one of those fun episodes for myself because I got to spend a lot of time with Will Geer. We had a couple scenes up on the mountains and it was very cute going out there and doing all the hunting with him and everything else. Working with Will, I've said it before, he was so crazy and he was so big and so strong. So sometimes he would take me and he would tap me on the shoulder and it would literally just shake me to the core. But working with Will was just so much fun. And watching the episode, I thought we were all on the same machine, was working well, it was well oiled, and everyone was just at their top at that point. It was a very good episode. So Judy, keep on doing what you're doing. It's great to share with all these people our wonderful memories of making these shows. And speaking of that, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of you. It's been a tough year, and I know it's going to be tough for a little bit longer. But stick with it and just go embrace the family that you have with you and make your phone calls and your Zoom calls to all the people that can't be there, but be safe. And I love all of our fans. We have the best fans around. So happy Thanksgiving from my family to yours.
Hello, everybody. I think I'm a surprise guest here. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you from all of us. I am here celebrating just me and Dawn celebrating Thanksgiving this year. And I know Judy has put together this fabulous video like her other videos that are all so incredibly fabulous. What I love about Judy's videos is that I am reminded of things that I have forgotten, or I learned things that I didn't really even know about the show. So the Thanksgiving story is the one we're talking about today. And I don't have a lot of memories from it, except one thing I do remember is we were on the set, and usually we were always a family. We did scenes alone and apart sometimes, but we were always together as a family, having dinner scenes in the house. And when the Thanksgiving story happened and John Boy gets clunked on the head with the belt, he ends up in the hospital. So we shot all of these scenes with no John Boy. And then there was worry about John Boy, say prayers for John Boy. And it was almost like it really happened because Richard wasn't there. And we were all so used to being together that I remember thinking, wow, it's almost like it really happened. So that's why my one little memory from the Thanksgiving story. I want to wish all of you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. And I hope you're having safe and healthy and wonderful Thanksgivings with as many family members as you can possibly Zoom. Happy Thanksgiving from our house to yours.
I hope you've enjoyed this behind the scenes of the Thanksgiving story. I wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. And from the Waltons to you, I wish you all the best. See you next time.